Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast, and today we actually have a brand new book to talk about and enjoy. And this is Reflection 194. And I guess this is a Bill Bryson-esque kind of book.
You guys know who that is? I think Amazon just knows that I like a lot of like Bill Bryson books. So like I saw that like their algorithm starts to put shit in your face, right? Mary Roach is like the female Bill Bryson, I guess, is what she was billed as.
Yeah.
So it's like she's like a science writer, but makes it really entertaining and detailed. She's very detailed, similar to like Bill Bryson. She goes through so many different topics. The one thing that I always take away from any Bill Bryson book whenever I read it is I learn there's so much information that's covered and I barely ever can retain any of it, but it's really entertaining the whole entire time. Does that make sense?
Like, totally. Yeah.
So that's exactly what Mary Roach is like. It's pretty funny, actually. The book was called Fuzz, When Nature Breaks the Law. So it's about people that are managed animal human conflict. So like
what?
Animal police, basically. If a bear in Aspen or whatever, there's people that have jobs to manage human wildlife conflict, and try to keep the peace when animals break the law. The book is about interviewing a bunch of people that try to keep the peace and keep animals abiding by our rules in our society, which is kind of funny because it's a bit of a fool's errand in a lot of ways, right? How do you stop a bear from being a bear? But anyway, it's a funny book. It was entertaining. I definitely ended up doing at least one other Mary Roach book in this journey after this one. She's entertaining. So if you guys like Bill Bryson, maybe we can call him the male Mary Roach, going forward or something like that. But anyway, they're both very similar writers. So if you're looking for a good book that's always like entertaining and you learn a lot, but don't really retain a lot, but you're still kind of entertained, check out a Mary Roach book, So onto the reflection though. So it was really funny. And I don't know if I've ever told you this, Snow, but I've told True this before. So Yoder and Baker, we still get together like probably once every couple months or something like that. And we do this thing that we call Why Are You Yelling podcast, where it's like irrational hot takes on just controversial topics and things like that. It's in a safe space where you can just say whatever you want to say and rip everybody else's words apart and just have fun debating. I mean, obviously you know them, so you know how that would probably go. Anyway, well, the three of us are all really opinionated, creative kind of people in general. So it's just a fun conversation in general. Well, right before I finished this book and right before I wrote this reflection, I happened to be doing one of our Why Are You Yelling podcast recordings. We started to at the beginning and now we stopped. Honestly, I don't know that we could ever release the topics that are said in these things to the world. Like, I think we would probably be canceled in a minute. But that said, we still get together and we call it our Why Are You Yelling session. Well, one of these, Baker was saying he was at a dinner party one time and he sent everybody into a tizzy when he said, animals can't commit murder. And I started laughing because I knew what he was talking about. But like, everybody at this dinner party, like, we're like, absolutely, they can commit murder. Like, what are you talking about? They murder things all the time. And he was like, no, they can't commit murder. Like, like I get what you're saying. They can kill people. Anyway, so he did what Baker does. And he probably went and quoted like 900 philosophers and ancient scripture and texts or something like that to prove his point, but really annoying sometimes, So it was funny because it got me thinking about like this whole entire human wildlife conflict management thing. The reason why animals can't commit murder is they don't know what murder is. Like, murder is something that we labeled and defined and we understand and it's clear and it's defined. It's one of our 6 laws of the 10 commandments, right? Like, it's remarkable that we can, in my opinion, that we can even have 10 commandments and laws that people can understand and language to be able to communicate that in words where we can all understand. For us, murder means taking a life for just taking the life's purpose, whereas like animals, when they kill somebody, they probably kill it for a purpose, whether it's dinner or protecting their family, whatever it may be, right? It just got me more and more thinking about this book and the irony of having people that are on the front lines of protecting human beings of our laws and against nature. And the thing is, nature always adapts. Like, every time they try to do something, everybody in this whole entire book that they would interview, like every time they would try to put a new stop measure gap in place to protect against these animals and keep our laws and our society going, nature just went around it, right? And it's, it's very similar to a lot of the conversations that you and I've had over the past months doing this thing of, humans we're so stupid sometimes where like we think that we can impose our will on nature, but like nature always wins and always goes around it. And it's like we should just flip our mindset, and go toward the nature route, I feel like, and run downhill, I guess, if you will. And that's what this book made me think about.
Rather than trying to push the boulder up, let's just actually run the other way and try to beat the boulder.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, go with the flow, right? Don't try to go against it. So that was the reflection. Nature always adapts, and we should probably recognize that and stop trying to impose our will on it. Love to get your guys' thoughts. The question is, are you fighting nature or embracing it? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
What are yours?
You cannot be fighting against nature. This the whole spill that Chris and I have about clubbing is you do not want to push the boulder up the hill. You do not want to go against millions of years of discipline. You just can't do it. You cannot fight gravity. You cannot go up against the river and expect to win. Eventually the river is going to overtake you. You say, well, I'm going to defy gravity. No one can defy gravity forever. I can hold my cup, my little cup, right? My little cup here, right? I can hold that cup. Eventually I have to put them down because I cannot go against gravity. And so to me, this is what we're saying. If you're a beaver, you must dam, right? You have to be who you are and go with the flow. If the river flowing down, you need to go with the river. You can go up the river for some short temporary moment in time, but it's cost tremendous amount of energy and power, and you're not getting very far because the water flowing and it's keep coming, and it is so strong. And even if you be able to go for a short distance, eventually you have to give in. I mean, I don't care if you're a rocket, you can shoot, right? But as long as you're inside of the gravity, eventually it will fall down. And so that's to me is, as nature is concerned, you are talking about, because you have like how many 50, 60 years worth of experience, and even 100 years, even 1,000 years worth of experience versus nature that has millions and billions of years experience. So if that is the odds like stacking against you, why would you fight against nature? I mean, you think about it. Why would you fight something and say, hey, I would rather be going up the river and trying to beat my enemies just because, I think I can. So the enemy don't need much to kind of defeat you, just because they can probably throw something down the river and kind of, smash you in the head and you probably lost. If you are not well suited in conditions to be in a jungle where there's humid, where there's a lot of things that you don't understand, where there's bugs, animals, and poisonous plants, if you don't know that and you go fight in a jungle, you can't beat the local people that been conditioned for that. Because like what we were saying yesterday, for me as a native of Vietnam, and my parent came from there and their parent came from there, so the gene that we have been conditioned to endure the humidity. So when I come to the United States, I see a lot of my American friends, especially the white ones. They
The
every
gringos.
time, and I live inside in a semi kind of humid environment, Houston, right? It's humid, a lot of humid, but it's not as humid as Vietnam. But the thing is, when these guys probably live here as well. I don't know how long they've been in Houston, but even for them, they have not been conditioned long enough that every time they go out in a hot summer, they become soaking sweat. You can see the sweat coming out of their shirt. Whatever shirt they wear is completely drenched. And for me, I walk out, there's no sweat. I have no sweat, right? And so this guy is trying to struggle to say, hey, why can't I keep my sweat under control? So you think about the conditioning of a gene that has been able to say, hey, I can adapt to regardless, because I've have so many different generations. I don't know how long the generation would happen, but I can guarantee at least 3 generations of my family has been in the humidity environment. Therefore, the body has adapted, and the 3 to 1, whatever, it's still gonna beat you in the odds for the most cases. And if you're talking about like a long tail of millions of years versus like thousands of years, right? It's a huge, big difference in terms of the ratio between something that's being conditioned and trained for that versus someone who is not. So the question can't be more obvious and say, are you fighting nature, embracing it? To me, if you want to have I guess, a decent chance at life, you should not go against nature.
What do you think, so?
This quote kind of makes me think of how our society does fight nature and has to fight nature to create a stable society for human civilization to flourish. So whether it's creating vaccines or creating structures to house us within all the inputs and infrastructure and fossil fuels and materials that in the long term isn't sustainable, but people end up building this nice shelter for us to live under. So, other structures and other people are really creating this system and society that does fight nature But those might be also some of the billionaires too who really create those structures, or the politicians. So I think it depends where you are. Some people fight nature, and some people benefit from those people who are fighting nature. And I think it can just kind of depend on how people are wired almost, or how they've been conditioned through their upbringing about what's the life that they want to live, what they deem is a worthy life.
For sure. Well, what do you want to do? I mean, do you want to fight nature, or do you want to just
Question.
roll with it? I think of like a dam, right? Like like an
Mhm.
actual dam that humans build, right?
Yep.
It might last 50 years. Sure, we can try to impose our will on Lake Mead in Nevada or whatever for a while. It's never going to be a permanent solution, no matter what we try to do. And if anything, the long-term effects of that are even worse. You know, like you see the droughts going on everywhere in the West. That could be easily because we don't know what the hell we're doing. You know, like there has been hundreds of thousands of years of conditioning as to, you know, why the Colorado River hasn't dried up. You know what I mean? But we're the ones that are trying to do it by thinking that we're smarter than nature, I guess. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, you know, because we have our own purpose as humans, right? You know, I mean, I think personally our job is to try to fuck shit up, you know, and so nature has to
Our
recalibrate,
job is
yeah. So, you know, I mean, we're creators, right? You know, we just do shit, and we don't know, you know, we don't know what we're doing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm curious. What do you want? No, what would you
do
do?
I want to do? Boy, do I want to fight nature, or do I want to embrace it? Gosh, it's I mean, is there another or here to dance with it?
Could be. I mean, there's never black and white, whatever you
Yeah,
want.
because I think it does seem like a black and white, but I think a lot of times we're, me, it is a mix between the two, because I think, maybe I can step back from a day and realize, wow, I was really trying to like fight nature or something, or oh, like today I was really embracing nature. And sometimes I think we can, I don't know, or maybe I'll speak for myself here. I wonder if like I sometimes in fighting nature when I'm thinking I'm embracing it. How do I want to live? I think, like you say, it's easier to go downhill. So I think we want to be embracing it, and that's how things flow easier. It's a losing battle fighting nature. I like to think that I embrace it. It's like nature has your back, and it's like the wind's gonna be at your back or whatever if you're embracing nature.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hell, I mean, even the simplest things like alarm clocks, you know, like I mean, we literally have created time, you know, and we said that this is when you have to be somewhere, so we like force ourselves to be awake, you know, like, and then run ourselves into the ground. I mean, it's we do
But
this
that's the
shit all
thing
the time,
is
you know?
we are breaking the law of nature by putting up the alarm clock. What's
We are.
happening to us? What is
Yeah.
happening to us though? Question though. So I'm asking you, can you go against the river?
Yeah, but true. But some will just have the privilege though to like not have to go against nature as much, because whether maybe we were born in a lower SES, or we do have to like fight a lot more, compared to other people who might be more privileged. So I think it also depends on where you're at though, and your luck.
I think that's the conditioning that I think people get indoctrinated in, just because you look at people like, let's say, let's say I come from Vietnam, right? I'm probably the lowest of the low. I mean, I'm probably like lower than the low guy over here, right? And for me to be able to say, well, I have my faculties, I have my brain, I have my hands, I have my feet, I have my health, right? I can make something out of it because I refuse to say, well, this is the way that life is, it, right? Then it will be. If you don't accept it, then there are solutions that will come to you, just because, yeah, there are paths to embrace nature without having to go against it. When you're born with a certain set of, like if you say, wherever you're born in, those conditions are not permanent. It's only permanent if you have, like, some kind of handicap you're born with. But for the most part, everybody born at the same playing level, and it's up to you to
I
say,
disagree,
well,
because people are born in different socioeconomic status. They're born with different parents who are maybe more welcoming and more accepting, born in different educational, backgrounds.
it's not permanent. It means that you can change it, because the thing is, you look at me, right? I'm under the society pressure to be this Asian guy, but for me, is I'm the black sheep of the family, if the country, if you want to say. I refuse to accept and do the things that I was told. I don't do it. So that's the thing, is there is a certain indoctrination that society gives you, and we continue to accept it, and because our brains has the ability to be the gateway, just like we talked about in the past about the guy in the prison, right? He refuses to, be depressed and die, so therefore he survived because he has that. Because once he accepts his fate, then it will become self-fulfilling, just because we have the ability to say, yes, this life is hard or this life is not so hard. Because you look at what Chris did. For most people who went through a similar situation like Chris, most people just give up and just go to depressed and get divorced and probably commit suicide somewhere. But for Chris, it's completely a different outcome, because he said, well, if Amelia can withstand and endure these kind of hardship and struggle, for me to be doing this and that, it's nothing. For me to be like, hey, I'm under weather, it's nothing. When he read the hard things, right? He said, what the fuck this guy's trying to say? This is not hard, right? She said, hey, I had to let go of a bunch of employees. That's hard compared to what he has been through. So the perspective he has through and the way he sees things can be different. It depends on whether or not he accepts the reality as was given to him, just because whatever you accept becomes your reality. And reality doesn't have to be the world reality, but it's your reality. I mean, if you think you're this kind of person, then you will be that person. If you think you're able to change, then you will change. If you think you are not able to change, then you won't be able to change. And this is something that I have found as I grew up, is that, whatever I think I can do, if I continue to look, if I don't stop and quit looking, eventually some sort of option will show. And to me, that is the fundamental aspect of, once you have a mindset of sort, once you have that mindset, regardless whether you in a lower social economic status, you can overcome it. Yes, it is a pressure on you to maintain this, because for me, is my family hates me because I don't conform to the expectations. I just don't. No one likes me, but I don't care. But that's the thing, is they, even though when I do the odd things out, they forces me to say, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you being stupid? Why are you being an idiot? Right? And so they still forces you, but eventually, they're gonna have to give in, because you're not changing for them, and so that can change you, because you have that mindset to hold on to whatever your gatekeeper, that's your brain. If you accept something, it becomes reality. If you don't, then different patterns will start to emerge, so that you can say, hey, this is another path I can take to do this. For me, there is some pressure, but those pressures are temporary. It can be overcome. If you don't want to change anything, then it won't change. But if you wish to change, but not able to kind of have maintain the mental capacity, the mindset, then it won't change at all.
I hear where you're coming from, but the same thing true with you as well. I agree with you both. I think when it comes to kids, it's a little bit different. I think kids are a whole nother story, all ball wax all its own kind of thing, just because they don't have the capacity, they don't have all the human tools yet, at their disposal.
The brain isn't developed yet.
So when it comes to fighting nature or embracing it, even if you look at from us and our perspective, I think one of the things that we do that is in our nature is to be imaginative, use our imaginations, and be really creative, right? Kids can definitely do that.
But I think that's my point, though. Kids started out being very imaginative, right?
For sure.
But over time,
we suck it out of them.
we suppress. We as parents, as adults, as society leaders, suppresses these. The 30,000 question of why get smacked in the face. Say, hey, shut up and eat your fries. That's what suppresses the imaginations. But all kids started out with imagination. They ask you why, forever, because they need to understand, because they need to connect. It's not because they're trying to be funny or smart ass. No, they just want to understand, because they haven't got the understanding of the piece of concept that you told them about, right? Why something happened. Well, I don't still understand that one. So I don't know why until I can find a piece that I already know, so I can start connecting the dots to where you at. So you look at all kids, like I said, all kids who has all the faculties they were born with, right, without being a handicap, they are the same. They are using their imagination. They are playing with imaginary friends. They have the ability to see things that is, hey, I can see things without seeing things, right? So to me, can you tell me of any kid that doesn't do that, aside from having some kind of handicap because of some kind of accident or whatever, that you're born with something missing? But Every kid that has all the natural faculty has the ability, but the kids that become something more than they are is because whether or not they're being shunned or not. If they are not being shunned, right, then they will be able to explore the possibility. One of our nature is to explore. I mean, we have to explore, find solutions, and find new things. We have to discover. And so, if you leave kids without shunning them, then they will become this person that's going to ask other questions and understand themselves. The problem is in society, we're very structured, especially in the Eastern countries or where like Japan, Korea, Vietnam, they're making so structured that you have to fit into this particular mold and you cannot go outside the box. When you go outside the box, you've been punished severely. I mean, you're talking about like in Japan, right? A kid was killed because he was late and somebody just slammed the gate on him and kill him. And so these are the harsh conditions that's being suppressed onto these kids, and these imagination, these gifts, these faculty has been completely shut down. And this is why I say society prevents you from doing the exploration that you need to do. But if I say if you leave a kid and you have some kind of a guided structure, then they will be able to self-explore on their own, and they can say, well, if I don't get an answer from you, I'm going to get an answer from someone else, right? And a lot of times they're going to ask them the question is when they stop asking the question, because they keep asking the why, but when do you stop asking the why? Like 100 times. Because after like the 10th time, your mom or your dad say, hey, shut up, I don't have time for this. Just shut up and eat your fries or whatever. This is one of the books that you read, Chris, about the design of everyday life, everyday things, something like that, along that line. Because essentially, like kids have very, very similar attributes in terms of how they are behaving when they're at a certain age. When you agree, and then after like maybe after 7 or 8 years old, then they start completely change and absorb the environment and the culture and the doctrine that was enforced upon them. They don't have any other choice. And to me, the environment cost it does have that, but like I said, it's hard and it's easy to kind of like buck the trend and say, hey, I'm not going to accept this doctrine for whatever reason.
It's really hard because when you go against culture, then it's like, you get shunned. You get, like you just said, your family doesn't want to have you around. I mean, it's really hard. Like that is something that is in our nature, is we are social beings as well, So the two things that you're saying are really important, because we're talking about nature versus how we are, right? And we're talking about our nature, and then we're talking about literal nature. So I think the path forward to how we connect those two dots is understand what our nature is first and foremost, and then understand how we can apply that into nature, that goes together. So we're all running downhill, like, because we are super creative and imaginative and we can come up with anything, but oftentimes we come up with the dumbest, stupid shit that is against our own, like you said, that's harmful to our own selves and also harmful to nature. Like, I mean, there's a reason why like the Gulag Archipelago didn't work, because when you strip people of their freedom and their ability to connect with others, like, or Hitler's concentration camp, I mean, you can't make humans be not human and expect that to last, right? Like,
exactly. And so essentially you're describing going against nature, which you can't, because it only temporary.
You just like, it just never works.
No, not in the long term, because like in the ultimate sense, you cannot go against nature. Because like I say, I can hold up something as simple as a cup, right? But for how long? A month? Do you think I can hold for a month?
I mean, like not for forever, obviously, but yeah.
So it's not against, because the thing is, you saying, hey, oh yeah, I have a brief moment that I was against the river, I was against gravity, right? I jumped up, right? I was against the gravity for like split second. So do you say that's going against nature? Right, because you're fighting nature, but the thing is, there's no point in fighting nature if you're not going to win. If you swim up against the river current, right? Would you get to the end of the river?
You do learn a lot when you fight nature. You learn not to do it, but like maybe we need to fight it sometimes.
But which way the current's going if you aren't fighting?
What my how do you know to not touch fire? Like some
the thing is, this is, to me, it's an effect. It's an effect of something that comes out, because you're talking about pain, right? When you in pain, you have to say, hey, what I'm doing is not, I cannot take it. I have to start to look, right? So you open your eyes and start looking. So it's the discovery and exploration that
Right.
makes you learn, not the fact that you're going against the nature. When you go against nature, it gives you a feeling of I cannot continue to do this. So I have to explore. The aspect of exploration and discovery is what makes you learn, not because you go against nature. If I go against nature and close my eye and put my head in the sand, I will not learn a single thing, right? So that is only an effect. If, for example, you and I were to go on vacation on 4th of July, the question is, did I cause you, Chris, to go on vacation because I went on vacation? Or was it just a coincidence that it happened to be 4th of July, and 4th of July was the reason that you and I both went on vacation? So the coincidence versus the cause and effect. You have to understand what caused what. You can't say going against nature will cause me to learn.
Oh, I agree. I didn't say it was 100%, but it definitely will be a catalyst to force you in that direction, whether you choose it or not. I mean, you're gonna have to learn if you're
Right, but
gonna try.
I'm saying, like I said, as far as like pain and suffering is not the cause of the growth, right?
Oh no,
It is not
I understand.
directly
Yeah.
causing it. It's just you have this coincidence of, okay, pain gives you the ability to say, hey, I have to look for something else, and the looking aspect of it is what gets you growth, because you learn something more than you're able to focus on something because you had to find an answer. So you start to look, and when you start to look, you discover. When you discover, you learn, and when you learn, you grow. And so direct cause and effect, right? You don't want to get that confused, because it's a side product, the side effect of something else that happens to be in the same space, right? Because I'm talking about, hey, if I go on vacation and you go on vacation too, did I cost you to go on vacation, or did you cost me to go on vacation? It's neither. It's because it happens to be 4th of July, and 4th of July is the actual direct cost of why you went on vacation and why I went on vacation.
What do you got? What are your thoughts? Is that your question?
But I guess that was my question there. I mean, how can you really pinpoint what the reason was?
I can tell you what does not work. I can only disprove, I cannot prove anything. I can only disprove you. Think about it. There's no certainty in this universe where you say, hey, this is definitively the cause and effect of something. I say, well, that is not the answer, right? If there is one solution and there are millions of approaches, right? I can say this approach is not it. That's all I'm saying. You think about it, any scientist can tell you, whether like Newton or Einstein, right? Whatever they do, say this is, as far as we know, the best understanding we have till now.
I think you're
Happen in
fighting
physics.
nature right now, actually, with your conversation.
Meaning what? How so?
Meaning, rather than acceptance of what things are, and trying to prove a point.
Accepting of what are things that are. I mean, I'm not sure I understand your question there. What is thing that's there, right? Because you're telling me something, right? And if it's not like downhill for me, then I say it's not. So to me, it isn't fighting. You think about it, and like you say, it could not. It don't have to be your downhill and my downhill has to be the same. It could be different. Because like I say, whatever I see, if I am conditioned to withstand humidity, then I can be in Houston and be, hey, this is great weather. And you come from, someplace dry and someplace cold, and you come down to here and you say, hey, this is too hot, this is too miserable. And if I go to for me, you say, hey, I'm fighting against nature, but I'm not. I'm actually embracing nature, because this is where I'm very comfortable in. If you take me to your place where you are conditioned to withstand the cold, I mean, I probably get sick from the cold, the flu, whatever, just because I walk into your environment. So in that environment, I'm fighting against nature. But in the same environment, you are embracing nature.
No, true. I mean more with, like, rather than accepting other viewpoints, though, and trying to change people's minds.
Changing anyone's mind. I'm just telling you what I think. You can say, yeah, I agree, or no, you don't. And you said you don't. Okay. So that's what I'm saying is, I don't need to prove a point. I'm just asking if, what I'm saying.
But why do we talk those then sometimes rather than to isn't it easier to prove a point or to show that we're right?
Well, that's actually, it goes back to how to win friends and influence people, right? You're never going to win an argument, like ever. Like you said before, there's constructs that have been built up in your mind around where your thoughts are and where they're leading to today. Like, and that has taken your whole life to get to where you are right now, of where you believe what you believe today. And there's no way any conversation's ever going to change that. Just a one-on-one conversation with somebody on a random time and place like that. And that's it's not going to happen. Like, I mean, like no, I don't think so, actually. And I don't mean that I don't want it to. I just don't think it can. I don't think that you can break somebody's paradigm just by speaking truth, or not truth, but by speaking something that maybe is a different perspective that could open their eyes to something else. I just don't think that you would have, a lot of other activities would have had to have already been happening to lead up to that, for those words to have impact on you. Like, just one random conversation that, with somebody, that I don't think is ever going to break that paradigm personally. But to your question of why do you even talk about it in the first place, like, that's actually an interesting question to me personally, because it goes, well, I don't necessarily want to talk to everybody about this stuff, because I'm not trying to, I wouldn't want to invite everybody on this discussion either, because they're not going to have fun. Like, it's fun to have thought experiments for me and for yourself, right? So other people that don't want to do that, I don't want them. I don't care. I think that's the whole point. I think that's what True is kind of saying, is I don't really care if somebody gets what I'm saying or doesn't get what I'm saying. It's great if they do, and then we can go further down the rabbit hole. If they don't, then okay, no big deal.
Exactly. I think that, to me, if you want to ask me the question, I'm not arguing with anyone. I'm just saying, hey, this is what I think, right? Poke holes at it, and I say, okay, if you poke holes at it and I don't understand, the point of me saying anything to anyone is because I'm hoping that I can explore. That's it.
You're hoping to explore, for them even to find holes in your own thinking?
So the thing is, I need to know if what I say is even reasonable to anyone. And they say, well, why do you think that you don't understand? Then I have to kind of reevaluate what I think. And if somebody bring a good point that I'm being blindsided by, then I'm going to take that and expand my horizon. And the only reason why I'm talking to anyone, because I value, and like I talked to Chris, because I've seen in the past what your questions and idea will bring to me will expand my horizon. If you don't agree, I have no quarrel with it. I don't. For me, in a way, I don't. In like, you think about what I say is an argument. It's not an argument. I'm just saying this is what I think. It could be, valid, or it could be, just BS. And if you say BS, then say, okay, that's BS. Then I actually say, okay, let me think about it. If it's BS, and I kind of go through the thinking process, and I say, yeah, I think he has a point. Then you know what? The next time I talk to somebody, I ain't gonna give the same BS, because I knew for myself it's wrong. Therefore, I've actually grown another level. Just because
it's sort of like testing your convictions or your ways of thinking to see if there's holes in them.
about exploration, right? Explorations. When you explore, you discover. If I don't have the ability to talk to you or Chris, then who's gonna poke holes at what I say? And then I say, well, that's the perfect. There's nothing to improve on. There's nothing to discover out of this thing. And if you say, well, yeah, because the thing is, I can't see everything. And just like I told Chris, like, if I'm facing west and he's facing east, right? Where's the sun? He's seeing the sun depending on the time of the day, and I see the sun different. And the thing is, these things comes only because we talk and we explore and discover. Because if I don't, and I say, well, the sun's always this way, we're not able to triangulate what our perspective was in terms of the other person's perspective. And that gives us another dimension to look at it.
Yeah, because I think that's one way that I could end up in, like, taking sometimes the way that you can talk is it seems like and that might be me, who knows? It seems like trying to change the way somebody thinks. But that's also not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it is good to, I think, change the way a person thinks. Let's say, for example, if I think it's okay to kill babies, right? You guys would probably want.
But the thing is, you think about it, that anyone who agrees with you 100%, there's no conversation. If you say, hey, true,
Well, no,
this
I mean,
is
I think
this.
you would talk a lot about it. Actually, I think you would say, yeah, no, I love killing babies too. Like, how do you like to kill those babies? Because that's what I like. You know what I mean? Like, I actually think that would open the door.
That's
I think
this
the
is what I'm
opposite would be
saying.
true.
No, this is what I'm saying, Chris.
If
Though
you did,
you cannot agree 100% because the reason why you're asking how you kill this baby because you may not know how they kill the baby. So there are certain areas that's undiscovered. That's where you have talking points. Whether
no,
it's
I agree.
unknown, right? Because you say, hey, I like killing baby. That's one of the common things that we agreed on, and then the other things around it are really gray areas and unknown. That's why we want to talk. That's what's interesting to us.
Time out. Let's use a different thing than killing babies because you know, like because to Snow's point, like we would have both said no, I don't agree with that, and we would never talk ever again to somebody ever again. And if that was the topic of conversation at hand. So I get your point.
I mean,
Snow,
it's only
that's
because you're
something I don't.
Maybe we can say,
yeah.
fine, like did abortion? Well, I mean, like I don't know
Right.
where you guys said on abortion, but like yeah, that like abortion should be illegal or something like that. You know,
That's better than it was just not triggering, but you know, it made me think of other things. You know, when you said that. So like,
yeah. So like, let's say in the case of if I think abortion should be illegal, like I mean, it is good to, like you say, even like try to poke holes in people's thinking so that they do, because I mean, if as a society as we have more of a general understanding and everyone's on similar wavelengths with certain things around like morality and what's right and wrong, then it is easier to have a society.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to discuss stuff with people. I find it actually kind of fun. It's whenever you do want to engage in these kind of conversations, I don't find a lot of people that want to engage in a real conversation. Like if somebody truly has a different viewpoint than you, they don't really want to go down that road.
Be changed.
They don't. Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Is like if you come in with a certain paradigm, like that's fine. Have that paradigm. It's not a big deal. That's not to say that I don't want to ever have a relationship with you if you have a different paradigm in life. I'm gonna have a different relationship with you. Like if you do agree with, not even agree, if you have commonalities around values that I have, right? Like if we share certain things that we both are that is our nature, you know, that you enjoy and that I like to enjoy, right? You're gonna naturally connect more. I'm not saying that like I can't connect with somebody that has a different idea. It's just that like
I think it's more challenging. I think it is more challenging because I think you know a lot of our social cohesion is around trust.
100% is like, I mean, like, you want to be around the people that care about the same stuff that you care about. Maybe not necessarily like are ideologues or something like that. Because if you get into that side of it, then you could go down a really deep rabbit hole of an ideologue of like a cult or something like that, where you're like killing yourself, you know, eventually or something. You know,
but I think it's more common than differences that brings people together. Because the thing is, you and I have a lot in common. I want to talk to you because I want to discover the differences that you and I have to make sure that I'm seeing the whole picture, right? Because if you and I don't agree on certain things, like you have this mission, right? If I don't believe in it, then I don't have any interest in talking to you. I don't want to explore the differences because that difference has no value to me because I don't value the same core values, right? Let's say we value the same core value as integrity, right? But what is it about integrity, right? We agree on it 50, 60, 70% of it, but what's the other 30 to kind of understand more? Because to me, core value integrity is one of the things that I care about. I want to explore more about the things I care about. In order to do that, is I've got to see if there's some overlap. What are the differences that that I can take in, because it's gonna fit nicely with my tool belt that I already have in terms of where I put this core values integrity. Having more of a common value attract us together, be making that meaningful relationship, and the joy of discovering and exploring the other aspect and say, okay, I see this item, this object of integrity. What do you see? And then what do I see? Describe to me what you see from your perspective, and I describe to you what you see from your perspective. I kind of mash them together and say, okay, is there anything overlapping or non-overlapping that I can take in and start to expand that perspective and horizon? And I think having that is what brings people together versus like, hey, completely say, hey, somebody is from some sort of different culture than me. There's no need for me to want to talk. There's no interest in there. So I guess I gotta say, you gotta be more common than differences. But there's some differences that allow us to do that. But that's what I see. and maybe I'm wrong.
I had a question for you guys. Are you fighting nature or embracing it? Given that you guys are embracing things now, I'm curious, what's the last thing you gave up that you were fighting?
That's a great question. Last
Coffee?
thing that we gave up.
Like in terms of like, what were you fighting that you're like, all right, I need to actually embrace this or whatever, like rather than be fighting? Because obviously you weren't like, this is like, you get what my question?
Yeah, no, I do. When I realized I was running uphill against something.
Yep.
So the best example I give you is Salesforce. I quit my job. This is running uphill. This is against what I care about and what I want to do with my life. So I quit my job. And after finding another job that did align with that, I've stopped doing 2 other businesses that didn't align with what we were trying to do. I've probably quit more things in this journey than I've started new stuff, because it's given me more clarity as to what my nature is and what really matters to me. So it's like more and more things fall off on the wayside, Now, like, I try to only do stuff, not all stuff, but I mean, like, most everything I do is with a purpose.
True.
I mean, it's a similar story, just because I used to, what you call, hustle and trying to do a lot of things at once. Now I say, well, I want to focus on something that I want to do and I enjoy, and I say no to everything else. I mean, regardless of what it is, a lot of time when I was in my younger years, I was running a company, and like I told Chris yesterday, most of my client comes from referral, right? And nowadays is if I'm focusing on one thing only, if I see something else and somebody comes to me and asking me for my services, I say no. It goes against the concept of I don't run for trains, so I don't do that. And you asked me about whether or not I'm trying to be a certain person, because when you're younger, people tell you to excel in a lot of things, make a lot of money, right? Do a lot of things and be more reputable in whatever sense that you think it is. For me, that completely falls off the wagon. I don't
Conform more.
Yeah. Right. So all that has gone completely out. I mean, like I said, I don't run for trains, and that's something I completely embrace. Just because if something happens, and I miss something, or a meeting, or a opportunity, or whatever, I don't even think twice about it. Eat at me anymore. I value the things I value. Like, I value sleeping than making extra money, whatever that money is. I say no, because I would say, people will come to me all the time, say, hey, this is an opportunity here. Would you be interested in it? I said, no, I don't have the bandwidth for it, because I'm focused on what I do. And that's something I think is completely changed the way that you live your life and change the way you feel. The house of balance question. Mine's always a 7 and 8. What is there to struggle? I don't do that anymore.
That's a good question. Your own answer?
Yeah, I think with the cheese company, having started, it can be hard to let go of things. It's been hard for me to let go of things. And it's hard because like part of me still wants to do it. The thing that eats at me the most, though, is probably not eats at me, but that I'm fighting the most. I think it's just my current job. Just too many hours spent not focused enough on my own projects and what matters to me. So, but I'm like, feel like I'm flowing my way towards, or working my way towards, like it being less and less of a battle with me. Whether like this year I'm 3/4 time, who knows, maybe next year I'll be half time, and also kind of just growing more food for the school, and that way too I can also focus more on the creamery business. But at the same time, have a little bit of financial security with having a job. So I think for myself, it's a balance between fighting the natural instinct to not have a job and just embrace life, but then having some financial realities or financial comfort level that I'd like.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think what I just heard when you said that, personally, for me, is, and I don't think you would be really happy if you were 100% embracing nature all the time. Like, I think you need a little bit of against nature to teach you what does matter, and what, I don't know, like you said, as you were cutting this down and cutting it down and cutting it down, you should probably have a little bit of struggle in your life, where you're just to kind of keep you honest a little bit. Like, talk about balance, like that's imbalanced if you're 100% always down the nature road, right? I think as long as you're making progress toward what you're trying to do, I think that's the most important thing.
Happiness is progress, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Struggle is default, meaning that everything you do is a struggle until it's not a struggle anymore. Because the thing is, you say, hey, I want to start a creamery business, right? You don't know anything about creamery business until you start to explore and they struggle through it. So struggle is by default. It's default.
Right.
And you gotta do that until you don't struggle anymore. And so to me, that's what I'm saying is, you say, like Chris said, hey, you have to struggle a little bit. Right? Yeah, you're not gonna be able to escape it. But that's the point is you have
Are you
to
struggling for the right stuff?
like your directions.
Yeah.
In a way that your struggle gets less and less, not more.
And Drew, when I hear you say that, I mean, I think like, whether struggle or suffering is like inevitable.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think it's what do you do it on, is the point, right?
Mhm,
Are you doing are you doing it on shit that matters to you, or are you doing it on shit that doesn't matter to you?
Yep.
Like, I mean, I know you love your students and everything, and I think if you
it's just sort of like, hey, I like working out, but I don't want to work out for 9 hours a day.
Yeah, like if you could teach for an hour or two a day and just make that a part of your life, I'm sure that would be probably sufficient for you to satisfy what you cared about with teaching. For you, you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is 10 hours a day and lesson planning and all this other bullshit that it has to do is just, it's too much. Ironically, that's because society has put a construct on you of, well, people's got to go to work, so they got to have your kids in school.
Exactly. You have to specialize and you have to do
that's
8
going
hours
against nature.
a day for this.
Yeah, because we all have decided to go against nature. Like, I mean, like the Luca, having to go to daycare at, waking kids up to go early to daycare so they can all get sick and do whatever they do so everybody can go off to work and have their full day. Like, so I think it does just that feeds into the whole entire thing that we're talking about. We're all fighting nature, like having our kids away from us, having you be defaulted to the de facto parent for 10 hours of the day or for 8 hours of the day. I mean, that's stupid. Like, you shouldn't be somebody else's parent for 8 hours.
Yeah. Like, it's damn hard to be too.
It's not that you don't like teaching. It's just that you don't like the other aspects of it, which was created by us. I think that's a great example. If you could start your own school, it might be like a Montessori school where you could teach for a couple hours and send them home and be like, go do whatever you want. So let's start a Montessori school. You want to?
No, I'll work at one maybe for 4 hours. Don't get on my business,
Fair enough.
Right. That's embracing nature right there. No, I mean, I really like that because you knew who you are and you know how much struggle you want, right? And so instead of starting at school, you say, well, I'm more comfortable doing the 4 hours, right? And work for somebody until I have not struggled anymore. Because like I said, you're gonna start in a school. Well, you're gonna struggle because you don't know nothing about starting a new school.
Exactly.
There can be a lot of struggle.
And like, I mean, I see our own principal just struggle like having a school in New York or, a charter school. It's this thing, like it's easy to have a dream, but the realities of things are different.
Felicia is teaching and the principal at a charter school that she started. They didn't have long story short, she's been teaching the whole year. So she's doing both jobs.
In the classroom is like.
So she's lesson planning every night until 11 o'clock. She's trying to be her principal while still doing all this other stuff. I mean, dude, it's been a fucking nightmare for everybody, right? At least on my end, I just watch her run herself into the ground every single day. She's normalized a little bit to it, but like it's still not.
They're like making enough money.
But the thing is,
and all this stuff.
Sustainable. It cannot last.
Yeah, no, it has to stop. Like otherwise, she'll run herself into the ground. She already has, But anyway,
and she take you with it.
But I think we all ended up having like whether we were younger or even like in our older ages, like we do have this like ego desire to like fight against nature because like we want to like prove we're powerful. Maybe it's indoctrinated in us from like wanting to be successful, like be in the ring. Because it's like we want to be Rocky. We want to like. Bam, we get like, we feel good when we like, knock someone out or, accomplish something or, climb in the ranks. So I think, whether that can end up going into our head and whether we think we can accomplish so much. And then, eventually you do end up start burning yourself out,
Like a lot of these soldiers have experienced that when they sign up, right, enlisted, they would have, I'm going to fight for my country. And the moment you're in the jungle in a foreign country and people shooting you and bullets going everywhere, you say, fuck, please get me out of here, right?
Yeah.
It's completely different tone just because you have got new pieces of information. Right? Because it's not known to you at that point when you make that decision. So you didn't know the struggle was so intense that, thinking I could do this. Then people start saying, hey, it's actually more than I bargained for. And, it's completely, I mean, you can talk to any soldiers that's been in any kind of war zone.
Yeah. All right. Well, I gotta put a pin in this one for the night.
Yeah, I'm fighting nature too. My stomach's rumbling. I
gotta Well, then go get some food. All right. Well, that was a great convo. Thanks for joining us.
Great convo, guys. Take care.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.